Now with integrals there are 4 golden rules, and they are to do with what you do if your function or the variable within your function is either multiplied by some constant or you end up with multiple functions added together. What do you do with the integrals? Well, the very first I want to think about is, what if there is something multiplying our whole function? So, for example, if we wanted to integrate f of x by dx, what if we wanted to multiply the whole function by just this value, and assuming that a itself does not depend on x, then the first golden rule is that we can move it outside of the integral and then just integrate f of x by dx. And that is universally true. And now imagine instead that we had a number of functions. So we had, for example, u was a function of x, and a different function v is a function of x, and a different one w is a function of x. Well, imagine that we want to find what the sum, or we want to find what the integral of the sum of these functions is. So we write it out. The integral of u of x plus v of x plus w of x dx. And now what we can do, and golden rule number 2, is we can split this into multiple integrals. We can actually work out what the integral of u is by dx, add that to the integral of v by dx, and add that to the integral of w by dx. Golden rule number 2. Golden rule number 3 concerns itself with what happens if we have something added to the variable x. So, for example, f is not just a function of x, but there is something added that itself does not depend on x. So it could be just a number. Then how do we handle this integral? Well, if we integrate, for example, sine of x plus b, then we get cos of x plus b. Golden rule number 3, that adding something to x doesn't change anything within the standard procedure of the integration. Finally, one more. What happens if we have something multiplying x? So, for example, now we have f of something multiplying x, f equals kx. If we were to integrate, say, for example, cos kx, what would that be equal to? But first, let me just remind you of what happens if you integrate cos. If you integrate cos x, then the answer is minus 1 times sine x. Okay? Now, if I was to integrate instead cos of kx, then what we actually find is that the whole thing gets divided by what was multiplying x. So minus 1 divided by k sine kx. That is golden rule number 4. These 4 rules should help in working out the integrals of nearly any function.